Hello everyone. Today we are discussing about the gluteal region. So first we will see the extent of the gluteal region. The gluteal region, it extends from the entire iliac crest above, behind dorsal aspect of the sacrum and the coccyx, and below it extends till the gluteal fold. So this is the gluteal fold, and anteriorly an imaginary line passing through the anterior superior iliac spine and to the front of the anterior aspect of the greater trochanter of the femur. So that is the extent of the gluteal region. So the entire iliac crest, dorsal aspect of the sacrum and the coccyx. Then we have the gluteal fold and the imaginary line drawn between the anterior superior iliac spine and the greater trochanter of the femur. So that is the extent of the gluteal region. Now once we reflect the skin in this region, we will encounter the superficial fascia and the deep fascia. Discussing about the superficial fascia, this is abundantly filled with the subcutaneous fat. Now we'll move on to the deep fascia. The deep fascia's attachment, it is attached to the entire iliac crest above, and as it attaches, it splits twice. First, it splits to enclose a muscle which is called as tensa fascia lata. This is the tensa fascia lata. Then it forms a single layered gluteal aponeurosis and it covers a muscle which is called as the gluteus medius muscle. It again splits to enclose one more muscle which is called as gluteus maximus muscle, and then it is attached on the dorsal aspect of the sacrum and the coccyx. So that is about the deep fascia. So here what you're seeing, this is the gluteal aponeurosis. Underneath is the muscle which is the gluteus medius muscle. On the lateral aspect, the deep fascia is modified as the iliotibial tract. It is through this tract the knee is maintained in the extended position by the gluteus maximus muscle. We will discuss about that later. Now the muscles in the gluteal region are arranged in three planes. So the superficial plane, intermediate and the deep plane. First we will discuss the muscles present in the superficial layer. There are two muscles, namely gluteus maximus, the vast muscle here, and the tensa fascia lata. So this is the gluteus maximus muscle and this muscle is the tensa fascia lata. So these are the two muscles in the superficial plane. In the intermediate plane, we have some muscles here. This muscle is the gluteus medius muscle. Then we have a muscle here, that is the piriformis, and we can see three muscles here, namely this is the obturator internus. So we have the obturator internus, then you have superior gemellus and the inferior gemellus. All these together, obturator internus, superior gemelli and the inferior gemelli, they are called together as the tricipital tendon. Then we have one more muscle here, which is the quadratus femoris. Then we have the upper part of the adductor magnus muscle and the origin of the hamstring muscles. So these are the muscles in the intermediate layer. Now coming to the deep layer, we have two muscles, namely gluteus minimus. So this is the gluteus minimus here in the deepmost layer, and we have the reflected head of the rectus femoris. As you can see here, this is the rectus femoris muscle. It has a straight head and a reflected head. So we are speaking about the reflected head of the rectus femoris, which is present in the deep layer of the gluteal region. Now we will see in detail about this muscle, gluteus maximus muscle. As already discussed, this muscle is present in the superficial layer. So immediately once we remove the skin, we encounter the superficial fascia, the deep fascia. Then we have a vast muscle that is called as gluteus maximus muscle. Now let us see the origin and insertion of this muscle. The attachment of gluteus maximus on the ilium bone will be behind the posterior gluteal line. So this is the posterior gluteal line, and above it is limited by the dorsal segment of the iliac crest. So this is the attachment of the gluteus maximus muscle on the ilium of the hip bone. Now it also arises from the gluteal aponeurosis. So gluteus maximus muscle also arises from the gluteal aponeurosis. It also arises from the dorsal aspect of the sacrum and the coccyx, and it also arises from the posterior layer of the thoracolumbar fascia. So that is the gluteus maximus muscle. So after taking its origin, let us see the insertion. 3/4 of the muscle will be inserted into this iliotibial tract, and through this it helps to keep the knee in extended position. It keeps the knee stable in extended position. 1/4 of the muscle will be attached to the gluteal tuberosity. Now where do you find this gluteal tuberosity? In the posterior aspect of the femur. If you trace the lateral lip of linea aspera, it becomes continuous with the gluteal tuberosity. To this gluteal tuberosity, 1/4 of the gluteus maximus muscle will be attached. So we have discussed the origin and insertion of the gluteus maximus muscle. Now there are some bursas in relation to the gluteus maximus muscle. The most important frequently asked is the gluteofemoral bursa. This bursa will be underneath the gluteus maximus muscle and the muscle which is called as vastus lateralis. We also have a bursa which is called as trochanteric bursa. This bursa is in between the greater trochanter of the femur and the gluteus maximus muscle. We have another bursa which is called as ischial bursa, which is in between the gluteus maximus muscle and the ischial tuberosity of the hip bone. So these three are the bursas in relation to the gluteus maximus muscle. So you have the gluteofemoral bursa, a frequent MCQ question, which is in between the gluteus maximus and vastus lateralis. Now we will move on to another muscle of the superficial plane, which is the tensor fascia lata. So as already discussed, this vast muscle here in the superficial plane is gluteus maximus, and this muscle is the tensor fascia lata. So the attachment of this muscle will be in the anterior superior iliac spine till the tubercle of the iliac crest. So this is the attachment of the tensor fascia lata. Now this muscle is inserted into the iliotibial tract, as you all can see here. So the two muscles inserted are tensor fascia lata and 3/4 of the gluteus maximus muscle. So that was about the tensor fascia lata. So we have covered two muscles in the superficial plane of the gluteal region, namely gluteus maximus and the tensor fascia lata. Now we move on to the next muscle in the intermediate plane, which is the gluteus medius muscle. The attachment of the gluteus medius muscle on the ilium bone is, it is in between the anterior gluteal line and the posterior gluteal line and above by the iliac crest. So this is the attachment of gluteus medius muscle. Here behind the posterior gluteal line we had the gluteus maximus muscle, not to get confused. So gluteus medius muscle, as already discussed, it lies in between the anterior gluteal line and the posterior gluteal line. Now let us see the insertion of this gluteus medius muscle. This muscle is inserted onto the lateral surface of the greater trochanter of the femur in an oblique ridge. So that is the insertion of the gluteus medius muscle. Now we'll move to the next muscle. We are discussing about the intermediate muscle. So this is the piriformis muscle. Piriformis takes its origin from the sacrum bone, from the bony bars in between the anterior sacral foramina and also the part of bone on the lateral side of the anterior sacral foramina. After taking origin, this muscle passes laterally. It passes through this greater sciatic foramen. It exits the pelvis and it gets attached to the apex of the greater trochanter of the femur. We can see here properly the piriformis muscle exiting the greater sciatic notch and it is gaining attachment to the apex of greater trochanter of the femur. It is said that the greater trochanter is pulled because of this muscle. So that is about the piriformis muscle, and this is to show that this is the greater sciatic foramen through which the piriformis muscle will exit the pelvis. Another important feature of this piriformis muscle is that this is the key muscle of this region. That is because there are several structures which exit above and below this muscle. As you can see here, the structures emerging above this muscle are superior gluteal nerve and superior gluteal artery. The structures emerging below the muscle are, you can see the sciatic nerve here. Then we have the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve, and then we have inferior gluteal artery, inferior gluteal nerve. Then we have the pin structures. We have the pin structures, namely pudendal nerve, internal pudendal vessels, and nerve to obturator internus. These are the structures emerging above and below the piriformis muscle. That is why the piriformis muscle is called the key muscle of this region. Now we will discuss the attachment of obturator internus along with the gemelli. The muscle which you can see here, that is the obturator internus. This is the superior gemelli and this is the inferior gemelli. As you can see here, obturator internus arises from the obturator membrane. This muscle, it takes a sharp 90-degree bend at the lesser sciatic foramen, and along with its friends, it gains attachment to the trochanteric fossa of the femur. So that was about the obturator internus muscle. Now we will discuss about the superior gemelli muscle. Superior gemelli muscle arises from the ischial spine and along with obturator internus, it attaches to the trochanteric fossa. Now the inferior gemelli, it arises just below the ischial spine and accompanied by superior gemelli and obturator internus. These three together are called as tricipital tendon. Namely, we have superior gemelli, obturator internus and inferior gemelli. All these three together are called as tricipital tendon and they gain attachment to trochanteric fossa of the femur. So this is the attachment of obturator internus and the gemelli. Now we are going to discuss the last muscle of the intermediate plane, that is the quadratus femoris. The quadratus femoris muscle, it arises from the outer aspect of the ischial tuberosity. So you can see here it arises from the outer aspect of the ischial tuberosity. After taking its origin, the fibers will pass all the way and it will attach to the quadrate tubercle in the femur. Let us see where this quadrate tubercle in the femur is present. For that, you will have to see the posterior aspect of the femur in the upper part. If you trace the intertrochanteric crest, you will have an projection here that is called as quadrate tubercle, and to this quadrate tubercle is attached quadratus femoris muscle. So that was about the attachment of the muscles in the intermediate plane. Now let us see a cadaveric image. So this is how a gluteus medius muscle looks like. This is the piriformis muscle, which is the key muscle of this region. This is the sciatic nerve, which is emerging below the piriformis muscle. This is the obturator internus tendon, the superior gemini, the inferior gemini. All the three together is called as tricipital tendon. This is the quadratus femoris, adductor magnus upper part, and this is the hamstring muscles. These are the hamstring muscles. Next, we go to the deep layer of this gluteal region, that is the gluteus minimus and the reflected head of the rectus femoris. Now, the gluteus minimus attachment on the hip bone. We will see here the gluteus minimus is attached on the ilium of the hip bone in between the anterior gluteal line and the inferior gluteal line. So this is for the attachment of gluteus minimus, that is in between the anterior gluteal line and the inferior gluteal line. So that is for the gluteus minimus, not to get confused. Between the anterior gluteal line and the posterior gluteal line was gluteus medius. Behind the posterior gluteal line was gluteus maximus. So that is the attachment of the gluteal muscles on the ilium of the hip bone. So this is the gluteus minimus muscle. You can see here, this is the gluteus maximus muscle. This is the gluteus medius muscle. In the deepermost plane is the gluteus minimus muscle. Let us see the insertion of this muscle. Gluteus minimus muscle is inserted on the anterior surface of the greater trochanter of the femur. So that is the attachment of the gluteus minimus muscle. Now we will move on to the last muscle in the deep plane of the gluteal region, that is the reflected head of the rectus femoris. We all know that this is the rectus femoris muscle having a straight head which arises from anterior inferior iliac spine. It has a reflected head. Now we are going to study about this reflected head. This reflected head arises from the ilium of the hip bone just above the acetabulum. So it arises from the ilium of the hip bone just above the acetabulum. So these are the origin and insertion of the muscles. Now let us see the action of these muscles. First we will discuss the action of the gluteus maximus muscle. So this gluteus maximus, it brings about the extension of the hip joint under extremes of movement in case of climbing stairs and running. Under quiet walking and standing, the hamstring muscles are good extensors. So the gluteus maximus muscle, it is an extensor. It brings about the extension of the hip joint during climbing stairs and running. Now we will see one more action of this gluteus maximus. It is a anti-gravity muscle and it helps from sitting to standing position. Then this gluteus maximus is a very good lateral rotator of the hip joint. Now we will see the action of other muscles, namely the action of piriformis muscle and the tricipital tendon and the quadratus femoris. All these muscles, they are the lateral rotator of the hip joint. Having discussed about the muscles, their origin and insertion, we will next move on to the nerve supply of these muscles. The nerve supply of the gluteus maximus muscle will be by inferior gluteal nerve. So this is the inferior gluteal nerve supplying the gluteus maximus muscle. As you can see here, the superior gluteal nerve supplies the gluteus medius and it also supplies the gluteus minimus. It also supplies the tensor fascia lata. So, superior gluteal nerve supplies the gluteus medius, it supplies the gluteus minimus, it supplies the tensor fascia lata. Whereas the inferior gluteal nerve, this supplies the gluteus maximus muscle. Piriformis muscle is supplied by twigs from S1 and S2. Then we have the tricipital tendon, obturata internus, which is supplied by nerve to obturata internus, along with superior gemelli muscle, which is also supplied by nerve to obturata internus. Now, quadratus femoris is supplied by nerve to quadratus femoris along with inferior gemelli, which is also supplied by nerve to quadratus femoris. So, this was the nerve supply of the muscles. Not to forget, inferior gluteal nerve supplies the gluteus maximus, whereas medius, minimus and tensor fascia lata will be supplied by superior gluteal nerve. Now, a very important topic which is frequently discussed, that is the Trendelenburg sign. Now, we know that the superior gluteal nerve will supply gluteus medius, gluteus minimus and the tensor fascia lata. Now, both the gluteus medius and minimus, they are the powerful abductors of the hip joint. Now let us see what is this Trendelenburg sign. When we are standing and our both the foot is on the ground, the pelvis is in the horizontal line. The level of pelvis will be in the horizontal line. Now, as in walking, when we lift one leg to take the further step, what happens is our one leg is on the ground and one leg is not on the ground. So this part of the pelvis is not supported because the leg is not on the ground. Therefore, what gravity does is it pulls this half of the pelvis, it tilts this pelvis down. But that is prevented by the opposite gluteus medius and minimus of the supported side. So this gluteus medius and minimus, through their abduction action, they lift the pelvis of the unsupported side. But unfortunately, what happens when the person is standing on the lower limb whose gluteus medius and minimus have been paralyzed? So what happens? This paralyzed gluteus medius and minimus will fail to lift the pelvis of the unsupported side, and thereby the pelvis of the unsupported side will tilt down. So that is about the Trendelenburg sign. We will discuss it once again. So normally what happens when the person is standing on one foot, the supported pelvis, mainly the gluteus medius and minimus muscle, will lift the unsupported pelvis and maintain the same level. But in case the gluteus medius and minimus muscles are paralyzed and the person is standing on the paralyzed lower limb where gluteus medius and minimus muscles are paralyzed, this fails to lift the opposite pelvis of the unsupported side. Thereby, the pelvis of the unsupported side tilts down, and such patients will have a gait which is called as the lurching gait. So that is about the Trendelenburg sign. So it is positive when the gluteus medius and minimus is paralyzed. So that was about today's topic. Thank you all for listening.